Before we begin, please note that the following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. According to Inner City Press, this is the exact federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. After months of rumors, court documents, and growing public pressure, Sean Jay-Z Carter finally entered the courtroom as a defendant for Diddy, defending himself against unsettling allegations, and as a man defending himself against Diddy's world collapsing. As part of sworn testimony, Jay-Z was dragged into the storm by association. His name was, when Jay-Z testified, the courtroom had just settled after a long morning of legal back and forths. The prosecution was getting ready to reintroduce evidence linked to Cassie Ventura's testimony, so his lawyers shuffled papers half-bored and overconfidently. Then, the doors opened. Not quietly, not suddenly, but deliberately. The way you walk into a room knowing the truth is finally about Jay-Z, a living legend, stepped into a courtroom that hadn't expected to see him like this, not on the witness list, not under oath. Gasps filled the room as he entered, wearing a midnight navy suit that was so sharply tailored that it might as well have been armor. The judge raised her eyebrow slightly, but he didn't blink. Instead, he turned toward the entrance and didn't look away from Jay. Jay-Z had asked for a sealed session for his statement, but the court overruled it in terms of transparency, so it was as if he were witnessing a ghost he had buried 20 years. Ego rise from the earth. The courtroom was full of federal prosecutors, entertainment journalists, and lawyers who had once negotiated million-dollar deals at brunch tables. They leaned forward as if they were listening to the first verse of a song they weren't supposed to hear, and Jay was about to give the performance of his life, not with lyrics, but with memory. I want to be clear that he started by saying, "I came here because silence isn't an option anymore," and that sentence changed everything because Sean Carter, not the mogul, the rapper, or the billionaire businessman, spoke. It's not just a testimony, it's a reckoning. Jay-Z didn't waste time by using denial as his opening weapon. Instead, he used context, which was even more dangerous. Yes, I was invited to Diddy's events, and yes, I did. But let me be clear that what I saw and what I was told were two completely different realities. His lawyers sat rigidly. I saw the setups, the confiscated phones, and the back rooms with curtains, and I never went in those rooms or signed those papers, but I knew something wasn't right. That sentence opened the courtroom wide because it wasn't just an admission of being present. It was an admission of witnessing the mechanics of the machine Diddy allegedly built, which Cassie Dawn Richard and others had described in agonizing detail. The defense appeared perplexed, wondering if this was helping them, or if he was flipping the answer slowly, piece by piece, as Jay-Z told the court something no one had anticipated. Jay-Z turned toward the jury. When the prosecution asked, "Did you ever witness anything criminal?" Jay-Z hesitated. Not directly, but I saw enough to know I shouldn't be there. He recounted an incident in 2015 at a party in Miami that was allegedly for Christian Combs' birthday, where he claims that things got strange. They had masks, he said, like real masks. One man passed me in leather, wearing only high heels. People laughed, but I didn't, because I knew he looked scared. Jay-Z claimed he left early that night, saying he called a driver and didn't wait for the scheduled car service because he didn't want his name associated with whatever it was. The prosecution then released a blurry but verified photo of Jay-Z, Diddy, LeBron James, and Beyoncé in a room with a man wearing a latex mask kneeling on a velvet pillow. He looked at Diddy. "You knew people trusted you. You used that for the first time." Diddy's jaw dropped. Then came the part that turned Jay-Z's testimony from damage control to destruction. He told the court about a private conversation he had with Diddy in late 2018, just after whispers of investigation started circulating in the industry. According to Jay, Diddy called him to get ahead of something. He told me, "They're coming for me. You have to be careful who you're standing next." 2. Jay said he asked Diddy point blank, "Did you do anything I can't come back from?" The last real conversation we had, according to Jay, was when Diddy allegedly replied, "It's just parties, Jay. Just experiences. Nobody gets hurt unless they want to." Jay's voice cracked slightly, and I stopped answering his calls after he said he started separating himself, skipping Revolt events, pulling out of collaborations, and even telling Rock Nation representatives to keep our brand away from whatever Puff's got going. The prosecution then disclosed another email exchange from early 2020 between Jay-Z's legal counsel and an anonymous party, in which Jay's team is cautioned that NDAs from previous events might be. Jay nodded, and I understood that they were going to use silence as a shield, and I wasn't going to be caught behind it. He concluded the third part of his testimony with a sentence that made headlines before the court even recessed. He used to be my brother, but now I see who he really was, and who I nearly became by standing too close. The room was silent, and the fallout was just getting started, as Jay-Z sat forward in the witness chair, his hands folded, and his voice came out strong, but unmistakably emotional. The courtroom had already been rocked by the accusations and rumors circulating the case. Jay-Z was no longer just a celebrity being dragged into another scandal, though. He was also a husband, a father, and a man defending everything he had built. I need to talk about my family. He started looking directly at the jury because when my name is dragged, so is theirs. The room was silent, and reporters stopped typing. Even Diddy, who had spent the majority of the morning scrawling notes on his legal pad, looked up to read Jay-Z's account of the toll the accusations had taken on Beyoncé and their kids. "Blue Ivy's old enough to read headlines now," he said. "She came to me asking what a freak-off was. That's not something a father should have to explain." He explained how, following the initial lawsuit, reporters flocked to their home and paparazzi set up shop outside Blue's school, blurring the lines between fact and fiction. He went on, "My wife has stood by me through everything." However, this time, it wasn't business drama or career competition. Rather, it was a nuclear bomb dropped on our family, and the worst part was that it was all based on a lie. He then went on to the specific claim that he and Beyoncé attended the alleged Miami freak-off in 2015, which Jay-Z reached into. The prosecution examined the material, and the judge asked the clerk to confirm the dates. Everything checked out. Jay-Z had receipts, literally, but he didn't stop there. He called out the culture of clickbait and unverified gossip that had allowed these rumors to flourish. "When did we stop demanding proof?" he asked the room. "When did accusation become a reality?" He pulled out flight records on the night in question, which was our anniversary, and we stayed at the Hotel Plaza on. I've included the hotel receipt photographs, videos, timestamps, and multiple eyewitness accounts. I've spent decades building something clean, something that lifts our community, and in a single headline that gets smeared with no evidence. Jay-Z made sure not to rely on Beyoncé's fame or status, describing her as a mother who was blindsided by accusations she had nothing to do with. "I came here to defend truth," he said, "and to make sure no one, not even a billionaire, gets away with burying people in lies." He stressed that his reputation wasn't just his own, but was tied to his wife, his children, and his entire legacy. I want to be clear that Jay-Z started by saying, "I have never in my entire life attended a party at Gloria Estefan's house. Not in Miami, not anywhere." He unfolded several documents, including a timeline of his activities from that week supported by security detail logs, transportation manifests, and charity event programs. His voice took on a sharper edge as he addressed the next major claim, the infamous Miami party hosted at Gloria and Alio Estefan's mansion, where he was allegedly seen by multiple witnesses during Diddy's alleged freak-off event. On the night of the alleged party, I was in Los Angeles attending a charity dinner hosted by the Sean Carter Foundation at the Peterson Automotive Museum, when he said, "Here's my speech transcript. Here's the guest list. Here's a photograph with the mayor." The evidence was indisputable. The court clerk showed a screen that showed the museum's security log, which recorded Jay-Z's arrival and departure down to the minute. However, the part that struck me the most was not the proof, but rather the breakdown of how these rumors began. Jay-Z criticized the ambiguous language in lawsuits and the power of innuendo, saying, "You don't need a lie to be." He said, "You just need it to be repeated." He clarified that his name had been linked to these rumors not because of any witnesses, but rather because of a pattern of him attending Diddy's events in the past, which is what this has come to. "I once attended a brunch, so now I'm complicit in everything this man is accused of." He told the jury that the media narrative had gone completely out of control, printing that I was seen in a place I've never been, and that one sentence turned into dozens of articles, thousands of tweets, and irreparable harm. Jay-Z's team submitted a report. The The judge acknowledged the validity of the records, and Jay-Z looked toward the prosecution and said bluntly, "If you're going to drag a man into a trial this big, you better have more than gossip and guesses." The last part of Jay-Z's testimony took a darker, surreal turn as he addressed the sea of conspiracy theories that had swirled since Diddy's downfall began. He shook his head, looked at the jury, and said, "I've been called a lot of things in this industry, but Illuminati puppet. Where there's smoke, there's fire," he said, acknowledging the internet frenzy caused by TikTok accounts posting in-depth analyses linking him to everyone from Harvey Weinstein to R. Kelly to Jeffrey Epstein. However, he added that sometimes the smoke is just fog machines and YouTube edits. Jay-Z brought up specific allegations that he was involved in Aaliyah's death, that he helped plan the deaths of Michael Jackson and Tupac, and that he paid people to keep quiet about Diddy's freak-offs, none of which have been supported by any evidence. He then pulled out a printed Reddit thread with thousands of upvotes speculating about his alleged inner circle with Beyoncé and Diddy. "This is what passes for journalism," he said. Jay-Z then described how the theories had started to affect actual people, saying, "I've had family members get followed, business partners backing out, even death threats because someone on the internet connected dots that don't exist." Then he did something unexpected, admitting that silence may have made it worse. "I didn't speak up sooner because I thought the truth would be obvious, but perhaps I underestimated how quickly lies spread. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm asking you to listen, to think, to demand proof, because if we don't draw the line here today, then none of us are safe from what comes next." Jay-Z concluded his direct testimony in a courtroom where rumors had turned into headlines. His voice had just redrawn the battle lines. The room fell into a tense silence as the lead prosecutor stood. His name had been rumored for days, and he was a fierce federal litigator who could shake even the most polished. The prosecutor paused and then leaned in, asking, "Mr. Carter, you say you were never at Gloria Estefan's house. You've provided logs, photos, and timestamps, and that's all compelling." Jay-Z nodded slowly, because it's the truth, but the prosecutor continued to pace slightly. "You have, by your own admission, attended Diddy-hosted events in the past. High-profile ones, brunches, fundraisers, award parties." "Yes," Jay-Z said carefully. "Public events, industry events, nothing like what's being described here." "Those incidents?" Jay-Z hesitated, just long enough for everyone to notice. "No," he finally responded. "I saw celebrities networking and the standard music was playing." "Did you never see Cassie Ventura at any of these gatherings? Or did you see anything that bothered you?" Jay-Z's jaw tensed. Cassie was Diddy's companion and was frequently around, but I never saw her in distress or the things she's describing in her testimony. The prosecutor changed the subject, so when you hear her claims about coercion and abuse regarding the prosecutor nodded, saying, "So-called freak-offs, you're saying you're completely blindsided. I'm saying I didn't see it." The room gasped, and Jay-Z blinked his poker face, breaking for a half-second. Jay-Z's lawyer objected, but the judge upheld it, and the implication lingered in the air. The prosecutor continued to push the idea that Jay-Z's proximity to Diddy gave him access to more than just music industry clout, suggesting that Jay-Z knew more than he was admitting, but it was all strategy for the jury. As Jay-Z stepped down from the witness stand, he adjusted his suit jacket and glanced toward the gallery, where Beyoncé was not seated, but her absence felt present in every stare. He left through the side door escorted by security, but the courtroom was still buzzing, with murmurs, headshakes, and gasps, some in disbelief, others in vindication. Jay-Z's final response before stepping down, witnessed by some skeptics and others sympathetic, broke the tension. He said, "I'm not here to protect Diddy, I'm here to protect my name." There was no waiting for a verdict because the internet had already rendered one, but inside the room something more complex was happening. The jury remained unreadable. Juror 4 was a middle-aged black woman in a beige pantsuit who was steadily writing in her notepad. Juror 9 was a young man with a military haircut who stared at the empty witness chair long after Jay-Z had left it, and the alternate juror bit his pen cap in silence while his eyebrows were furrowed. Jay-Z broke his silence under oath, according to the headlines flashed on social media. "He talked like he didn't know, but we saw him at those events. Maybe he didn't see what we saw, or maybe he just looked away," she told a reporter during Recess while being photographed by the sketch artist wiping tears from her eyes. Sitting at her lawyer's table, Cassie Ventura remained expressionless during Jay-Z's testimony. However, when his voice broke when he mentioned Blue Ivy, she looked up for a moment, not out of empathy, but rather as if to ask if he was protecting his family or himself. Did he remain stoic for the majority of the trial? He tapped his pen more quickly, and his eyes darted around the room. The judge called a brief recess, and as the room emptied into the hallway, voices clashed. Some were on Jay-Z's side, and he showed receipts and came clean, saying, "What more do you want?" Others weren't buying it, saying, "He's just saving face. He's been part of the system forever." Meanwhile, back at Roc Nation headquarters, the atmosphere was tense, and Jay-Z's team hadn't released an official statement after the testimony. His lawyer, Alex Spiro, had only provided a brief quote outside the courthouse, "Mr. Carter testified bravely and honestly, and we support his integrity," but the world wasn't waiting for legal summaries. Within 12 hours, every major media outlet, including TMZ and the New York Times, had analyzed his testimony. Some praised his transparency, while others called it calculated damage control. Beyoncé's name trended worldwide for 36 hours in a row, and her publicist declined to comment. Fans were split, with some fervently defending her and others wondering how deep the couple's relationship with Diddy actually went. Meanwhile, the prosecution was gathering. Jay-Z hadn't destroyed their case, but he had complicated it, detached himself from his family, and moved the focus. But in the process, he brought up another issue: the pattern of plausible deniability in the industry. The DA's office issued a silent statement, saying that although Mr. Carter's testimony was important, our investigation is still ongoing and goes beyond any one translation. This isn't over. Then, 50 Cent, who is never one to keep quiet, posted a picture of Jay-Z on the stand with the caption, "Nice performance, but we haven't forgotten those brunches, my guy." It became viral right away, and more celebrities started to resurface in the days that followed. For example, Alicia Keys retweeted a quote, "One truth was evident in a case full of twists. The courtroom wasn't just trying Diddy. It was trying an entire era of power, proximity, and protection." Jay-Z had survived the stand, but the real trial was the trial of legacy. Love tweeted cryptic emojis, and Oprah posted a vague story about building from ashes. Jay-Z's reputation had suffered, but it hadn't collapsed, and his testimony, for better or worse, marked a moment when silence was no longer an option. Was only